Okay, so when you're ready to make a slab, you've already wedged your clay. When you wedge your clay, you'll use those methods that I was showing you yesterday. Your clay is going to need to be flattened out somewhat before you can bring it to the slab roller. So ideally about a ½ inch thick. All I did was kind of just press it and squeeze it to where it is fairly flat. So the idea is that you're going to be rolling this through this roller. Some important things that you need to know. You need to have 2 pieces of canvas. Those 2 pieces of canvas, inside of them is going to be where you place your clay. If you put your clay through my slab roller on top of the canvas, not in between, it's going to get all over my roller and it's going to be a big problem. So be very, very careful to remember that there are 2 pieces of canvas and your clay goes in between like a hamburger. Okay, so I have flattened out my clay already to about a ½ inch. The next thing you're going to be doing is determining your thickness of your slab. If you were to make a bust, like we saw yesterday, where they're trying to make the human form, those needed to be a little bit thicker because there was a lot of modeling and shaping going on. So what you can do is these little knobs that I twist right here, on the inside you can see the thickness. So I'd say for most people, 3/8 inch is going to be what you're going for. I've adjusted this side. I must also adjust this side and make sure that it is at the exact same height. So those 2 things, if they don't match up, you're going to get an unlevel slab. And you want your slab to be nice and even, for this project at least. Okay, so I've checked to make sure that I know how thick it's going to be. I've chosen 3/8 inch. If I was going with a bust for my project, I would probably go thicker to a ½ inch, in which case you might want to have a thicker slab to start with. Okay, so once you have put that together, you make sure that your canvas pieces are all lined up so they match. They're not, going different directions. And now I have a 2-person job, which can be done by 1 person, but it helps if 2 people are doing it. Over here, I am putting on my lever. That lever is what's going to roll this through the slab roller. So 1 person can do the spinning of the lever. The other person can pull the canvas. I can do it by myself. It's not a problem. But if you have a second person, it really helps. Most people, when they come up here, they are confused. Which direction do I pull it? Well, some people go start over here and pull this way. Some people start here and pull this way. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to feel when you come up here if it is going in the right direction. Right now, I'm spinning it. Nothing's happening. You know why? Because I need to pull the canvas as well. So what I'm going to do is go a different direction also and pull the canvas. So I'm pulling my canvas and rolling it through. If you are up here trying to roll this and it is like really difficult, then you didn't make your slab thin enough. You need to pat it down a little bit more. All right, then you can open it up. And it looks like I need to finish pulling it through. So now you can all see it's nice and flat. Because I put it through 2 pieces of canvas, there is a texture on my canvas that is now imprinted on my slab. Can you leave that there? Sure, you can. I prefer to smooth that out. I have a tool called a rib tool, several different ones. This one's in the kidney shape. I will use this on my slab and smooth out the whole thing. You can do this at your seat as opposed to on top of my slab roller. So now you know about smoothing out that texture. Now, notice in that video we talked about texture in particular. You can go home and look at different textures that you have at home that you might want to use for the outside of your ceramic piece, your sculpture. Here are some burlap that I have. I do have various different things that can be used from this back room, but I want you to be looking around at home. As you saw in the demonstration on the video, she placed her, we'll call it her textured fabric on top after the slab has already been rolled through once. Now I'm going to put my canvas back on, and I'm going to pull this the other way. It is very helpful if you smooth it out first, but for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to take the time to do it. But if you are using this technique, I want you to smooth it out, okay? All right, so now I have rolled it through, and now I have the texture of my burlap on my piece. And it looks really nice. Now, once you have done all of that, you will take your clay really carefully back to your seat, set it down, and that's when you can begin cutting and shaping. I'm going to put just a little piece of laminated paper on top here so you can still see my demonstration. But it's important for you to know I do not want you to cut your clay on this canvas. Why I'm asking you not to do that? Does it hurt the canvas? Not necessarily hurt it, but it does leave marks and it leaves indentations, and it makes things harder for the next person. If the next person comes here and say somebody left over some little bits of clay, dry clay even, on the canvas, what's going to happen when they go to roll their clay through? It's going to have indentations, thank you, indentations from that last person's clay. That's really frustrating. So if somebody's dried clay was inside here and they didn't bother to remove it, chances are the next person might not even notice it. Put their clay down, roll it through. Excuse me, Miss Beer, I have, there's a bunch of dried up clay in my slab, and then we have to pick it out and start over. So it's important that you know not to do that. So be careful. Okay, as I already said, you will not cut your clay up here. I have put down a piece of laminated paper. You will all get a piece of laminated paper. What you're going to do then is when you go back to your seat, that laminated paper can be your work surface as opposed to directly on the table. You can use your template similar to what you saw in the picture. Simply a piece of paper placed on top of your clay to guide you on where the cuts need to be for your sculpture. This is called a fettling knife. It has a nice rounded tip. It is not sharp. I cannot cut myself with this, but what it is perfect for is making your cuts on your clay to make it the right shape or size that you are going for. So what I do with this is I can just lay down my paper if I have a template. If not, I can cut right on top here. And it's going to give me some nice, pretty lines. And then I take away what I don't want. And I can set that aside. Now, remember when we first learned about clay? Something important to know. When you work with clay, the more it's exposed to the air, the more it's going to dry out, right? In some cases, you want it to be more dried out, right? Well, in this case, we are building a sculpture. Right now, my clay cannot stand up by itself very easily. It would be helpful for me to take a blow dryer and go ahead and do a little bit of drying on here. Before I do that, I am going to Can you guys see? You guys can't see a darn thing. So what I'm going to do is get out a blow dryer. I'm just going to blow dry both sides just a couple minutes. And then when I come back, I'm going to show you how to make bevels, okay? It's only going to take me about 2 minutes. In the meantime, I want you to open up your Chromebooks and start looking up ideas that you are interested in or videos on YouTube that you can watch that might help you figure out what you want to do for your project.